Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And, this was our very first drill here at Bayside Acres. And I think it's important for all of us. Before I go any further and go through just really quickly through some slides, Alan will just talk a little bit about some protocol with Zoom so that we can enable you all to join in the conversation or use the chat function if you have questions. So when we do that, then I'll get into the agenda and we'll move forward, and then we'll open it up for all of you who want to make some comments about how your drills went or some questions that you might have, and we can help address any of those for you. So Alan.
So first I want to thank Julia. Julia Glenister is our absolutely illustrious and incredibly well-talented chair of the Firewise Committee. She's the one who's put together those 2 newsletters you've received, which are beautiful and full of incredible information. And I want to give her a great big applause and thanks for the work she does.
This was not staged, I promise. I'm embarrassed.
We only rehearsed it 3 times. It's not a problem. In terms of using Zoom, you probably all are very familiar with Zoom, but just to iterate a couple things. If you want to mute yourself, just so background noise isn't disturbing, that's fine. Just remember to unmute yourself when you want to say something. If you don't want to interrupt somebody, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's one of the icons that says reactions. And if you click on that, there's a raised hand. I'll raise my hand. You can see on my tile of my picture there's a little hand in the upper left-hand corner that shows I've raised my hand. That allows me to say, oh, look, someone wants to talk, and give you permission so that you don't interrupt the people. Otherwise, if you want to just type in something, you can use the chat icon and type in a question or a comment, and we'll pay attention to that and either read it out or ask a question or whatever that might come up. Don't know if there's anything else, Julia.
No, that's probably perfect. And if all else fails, just raise your hand like this.
Right.
And we'll know that you have a question. So Alan is going to show my slides, and okay. I'm going to be flipping back and forth because I have notes attached to my slides. They will be published on our Bayside Acres website. So if you don't catch everything right now, no worries. So,
okay. So we are in slide mode now, and you're watching her slides. You should all see them on the screen. We
will go to the next slide, and I want to talk about the agenda. And I will try to keep this to 30 minutes. And then if anybody has questions run on, we can take them. And so basically, the slide is entitled, "Who Says It Will Never Happen Here?" I think we all sort of have that false sense of security. In fact, ironically, as we were doing our drill this morning and our neighbors across the street were doing the drill, 2 people walked by and they said, "What are you doing?" We said, "Oh, we're doing a fire drill." And they said, "That'll never happen here." And I said, "Well, ironically, that's actually the title of my slide." So, so what we're going to do is what I'd like to get from all of you who participated particularly is, how long did it take you to pack your go bags? And, did you get all your items, and how many did it take to work through all of that, including preparing your home? And then we can talk about our successes, our thoughts, our revelations, and so on. So I think we'll go to the next slide, and I'm sure you all can recognize this picture. But if you're new and you don't, it's actually of our open space right behind our Bayside Acres border. And that shows the damage left by the 2016 fire. And there were a series of fires that occurred. And the fire department was up here for several days trying to put them out. And you can see that this fire was actually stopped right there at the Bayview Drive Trail. It made a really convenient fuel break, and with the expertise of our fire
Julia,
department.
I think we've lost your.
Oh.
Or I did.
What happened?
Shoot.
I don't recognize it. There's no fencing up that trail.
All of a sudden we had a freeze there, so hopefully everybody's back up.
It still looks like it's up, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so our fire trail was a fuel break, which was most excellent. Now we'll go to the next picture and you will see what it looks like as of yesterday. Okay, and so you can see there's quite a bit of overgrowth from the French broom. It came right back with a vengeance. And I wanted to make a special shout out for Bonnie Marmore, who has the Point San Pedro Road Coalition's broom pulls every year. And now you can see how critical that is. And I will tell you that the brush fires that we have actually fuel the seeds. And so once you've had a fire, you pretty much have to regularly go in there for the next few years, because that broom will grow back even more dense than it was before. And that is why these broom pools that different neighborhoods are organizing are so important, because they get down into the soil, remove all of this, but it has to be done successively for a few years. And I wanted to also say that I've been in touch with the Marin County Fire Department, and Captain Reeser is hoping to come back with their masticator, this big machine that can, kind of plow through a lot of our underbrush along that trail, which borders our neighborhood. But right now they're focused on West Marin. We fall into the unincorporated county area, which means that the Marin County Fire Department is mostly responsible for us. If we have a fire, and the first responders would be probably San Rafael Fire Department, they contract with the county. But when we're talking about trying to clear things up in the open space and so on, that's mostly fallen to the county fire department. And I'm working with Captain Reeser to keep us on his, sort of fourth, just really keeping him thinking about us first and foremost. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I just want to quickly go to the next slide and talk about, we did talk about this on the 30th of June, and we are all assigned evacuation zones. All of Bayside Acres falls in the SNR E552 zone. Don't have to memorize it, but it's a good idea to keep it handy. And if there's an evacuation order, it'll be by zone. But I was told recently that it will always be accompanied by street names. So don't worry too much if you don't know your zone number, but it's going to be used, and then they'll talk about streets when they tell people there's an evacuation order or what have you. And just quickly, the E552 would be, the 55 is our closest fire station, which is a San Rafael fire station, number 55, which is at 955 Point San Pedro Road. So there is a rhyme and a reason to the letters and the numbers, although I'm not too sure I know all of them. I think the E is for East. Anyway, enough said on that, and we'll go to the next slide. And then I want to talk quickly about evacuation orders versus warnings, and also about shelter in place. So if you get an evacuation order, you just go straight to loading your family and pets in the car. If you have time, you can grab your go bags, but it's recommended that you only take one car to minimize congestion on the road. And Point San Pedro Road, as you can imagine, will be pretty congested if they've started evacuating people up further toward Peacock Gap and so on. Now, if you get an evacuation warning, this will apply to people who need additional time to evacuate, and it'll include those people with pets. So if you leave early, you could take more than one car. The advice from the San Rafael Fire Department emergency officials is that, in particular, Bayview Drive is such a narrow road, and it can be expected to be very congested. So if we get an evacuation order later, those people living on the narrow roads would be wise to consider early departure, even if it could possibly be called off. If you really want to take two cars, take them out early or park one down on Point San Pedro, wherever you can, so that you're not all trying to go down the narrow roads that we have. And the San Rafael Fire Department also advised us specifically at Bayside Acres that, so many of our properties are more than an acre in size. And so we're really good candidates for a shelter-in-place order. As queasy as that might make us feel, they are making the point that, if things are really congested and we've all hardened our homes and we've cleared defensible space at least 30 feet from our homes, then we have a really excellent chance of surviving by just staying in our homes. So I wanted to make that point, because these evacuation zones are just general ones, but we've had some counsel on how it might apply to us here in Bayside Acres. So next slide, and now I want to talk about how our drills went. And I want to sort of see a show of hands and find out if anybody, if you all got Alert Marin notifications about the drill this morning at 10 a.m.
I'm going to stop sharing for a minute here just so we can see everybody.
So everybody raise your hands, however you want to do it. So everybody got the drill, the alert? No, there's a few people that did not get it.
Julia, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Joe.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, mine on my phone came through as a potential spam.
Hmm.
And,
Oh, no.
yep. And I answered it because it was close enough to the 10 o'clock, but the number it came from, and I'm putting it into my phone as an okay number, was area code 415-473-6376.
I put it in my phone.
Okay.
We should get them to change that, because under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have even answered the call.
Yeah, I would not have answered it either, but so I was a little surprised that it came through, at least on mine, as potential spam.
So Joe, you said 415-473-6376?
That was the number that came through,
Right.
yes.
That's the Alert Marin number. And so the recommendation, we have some documentation on the website under early warning systems that tells you if you don't want it blocked by spam, or you want to make sure it comes through at 2 o'clock in the morning, even though you have Do Not Disturb turned on, you want to add Alert Marin to your directory, to your contacts with that number, and then set it up to be an emergency number, which instructions on how to do that, whether you have an Android phone or an Apple phone, are on the website.
Potential spam.
To tell you how to go through that. And that's important to do, because even if you don't go, even if it doesn't show up in spam, if you have Do Not Disturb on and it's 2 in the morning when an emergency occurs, and you have, it's not going to come through unless you've set it up to bypass the Do Not Disturb. And both Android and Apple provide you the mechanism for doing that. Again, documented on our website.
So I make sure mine was.
And I have one more point to make on that. I have mine, and so does my husband Chris, have Alert Marin coming in by all 3 modes. So I got the phone, I got the text, and I got the email. And I think text was what I got first, then the phone came in. So it would be a really good idea, if you're comfortable with text messages, to make sure that when you go back in and check how you're registered with them, that you provide all those different, devices, so that and numbers and so on.
That's what I did.
So, but great feedback, Joe. And I will mention to Woody, who is our in the Marin Sheriff's Office, who put out that alert on our behalf, that was, something that happened to some of our neighbors, and we will have to really do a big education on getting people to add that number that they are using into their contacts.
We might want to be sure to do that at the picnic as well, just to comment there.
Yes, good idea. We'll do that. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about whether you managed to pack your go bags, if you loaded your family and pets in the car, if you got all the items in your grab and go list, and if you were able to prepare your home list. And then at the end, did you actually put up an evacuation tag and lock your doors? So does anyone want to start sharing any of this with any funny stories? I think that's what it really comes down to, is funny stories.
Well, I was really proud of myself. I mean, we had prepared ahead of time. You would expect someone who's directly involved in the committee, but my wife and I prepared a go bag with some clothes in it, basically realizing what we wanted to do is pick like some old clothes, good rugged, like an old pair of jeans that you really don't wear much anymore, old shirt, long sleeve shirt, and put them in the go bag and forget about it. You know, just consider those to be lost clothes. So the go bag's packed with most of the things that we need, and it's sitting kind of in a corner near the front door, but out of the way. And then I put together a grab and go list. It says, what is it that I want to grab and take out? And it all worked really well having pre-planned. What struck me though is that you're kind of waiting around just before 10 o'clock. When am I going to get that notice, right? Which isn't the way it's going to happen in reality. In reality, you're going to be doing something completely different, not even thinking about it, maybe worrying about fires that are in the neighborhood, but not thinking about evacuation. And then suddenly you're going to get this notice and your heart's going to go up into your throat and you're going to be running around with a chicken with your head cut off. So having kind of prepared once and put together a bag and practiced it like we did today goes a long way in having that time shortened. As I said, we ended up taking 14 minutes. So if it was a 30-minute time to evacuate, that gives us 15 minutes to stop and think about the things we forgot about or wanted to take that aren't absolute emergencies. That was really, really useful for me.
That's great. I'll tell you a little funny story. So Chris and I only finished packing our go bags last night by 10:30. I mean, we had them, but they needed to be refreshed. We needed to change the water in them. We needed to make sure the batteries and the flashlights were working. And lo and behold, a lot of them weren't. So we put that time in last night, and then we put our go bags where we're going to normally store them. And then we...
There's Maureen and Colin.
What's that?
Oh, nothing.
And so we timed ourselves, and we kind of knew, like, we printed out lists, which I'm happy to share with anybody. We do have them on the website, and I think after this discussion, I've got more to add, but I'm also happy to share them in Word or Pages format or PDF with you. However, it makes it easier, and then you can alter them for your own needs. But Chris and I had a section for what we were putting in the go bags, and we want to keep track of that. And then the grab and go list, we kind of divvied it up a little bit. And that's the things that you can't possibly keep in your go bag because it's your credit cards, your keys, what have you. So we knew we had to get all of that, and we knew it was on a list. And I know that if we were in a fire, we wouldn't have been able to think clearly about all these things. We even included our birth certificates and our passports. And so now we have a section in our filing drawers, which are together in folders so that we know when we look at our grab and go list, well, we got to run downstairs and we got to pull those out of the files and so on. And the grab and go list included our computers and my jewelry. That was really important. We put the dog in first. The go bags went in, and then we went running around to do the grab and go list. It took us 4 minutes to get the dog and the go bags in the car. It took us 10 minutes to get the grab and go things in there. And then we thought, well, we had our security camera on, and we'll just do a funny video, and we'll just start like pulling away, and we'll stick our hands out and we'll give it the thumbs up. So we did that, and then we suddenly realized that the hatch was open and all of our things would have fallen out as we got on the road. So we actually had to add another couple minutes. So it took us 16 minutes to get all of those things done. And it was such a great exercise because it crystallizes what you need to do and think about.
I forgot about the passport.
If I could add something to that, and let me do a little bit of a share.
Options.
This is my grab and go list, which identified the things that we needed to grab and take out. Obviously, I've already prepared the go bag and then adding things to it that we couldn't keep in the go bag, like medicines, jewelry, and then the computer bag and so forth. One of the items is right here, small safe in closet, which deals with this specific thing. Let me stop the share and show you, if you can see my slide. This is the safe that I'm mentioning. It sort of shows. It's a small safe. It's a fireproof safe, but it's easy to pick up and carry. And in that, I have our passports, our spare credit cards, the birth certificates, etc. So when it comes to the things that Julia was just talking about, I don't have to think about where they are and go gather them. I just grab this safe and throw it in the car. You might think about doing that, even if it isn't a fireproof safe, it's just a metal box. You keep all those important papers in that one box and keep it, upstairs, so to speak. It can be easier on your mind. If you just grab that, you've gotten your important papers.
That is a great idea. And Chris, maybe you want to, I did actually leave something out as we thought we were finished and running to the car. Why don't you tell everybody what we forgot?
Well, we didn't forget the dog.
No, the dog was in there first. We had the go bags.
Oh yeah, my golf club. No.
No. Remember, we didn't prepare the home. So you ran.
Well, right. I mean, we haven't even kind of talked about that yet. But
I was wondering about that.
yeah, so we actually had a lot of work because we have several fire pits that run, with propane tanks, and we also have a lot of furniture, which is that faux wicker, which is flammable, and so there's actually a lot of time that needs to be spent, pushing that stuff away from, the front of the house, and then detaching all of the propane tanks and putting those, if you can, 30 feet away from where the house was. So we ended up spending a lot of time doing that. We were able to do it with successful, but it takes a lot of time. And if you're being told to leave, you gotta somehow build that in. I mean, I think that kind of took us, didn't it, Julia, at least 8-10 minutes to get all that done.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had forgotten about that. We just had our grab and go bag and took off.
I think we figured out we don't have any room for your golf clubs in our one car.
I think I'm going to upgrade to a bigger SUV is what I'm going to do, just to make sure that happens. So, but
can I share something that I had an argument with Francis about my husband wearing leather shoes. We both have leather boots. I have tons of them because I taught and I was outdoors all the time on the playground, but he would not put his leather boots on because he claimed he was much more comfortable in jogging shoes. But I was told a long time ago when I was evacuated from a fire when I worked at Davidson, you don't want to wear those shoes if you're going to be walking through embers or ash because they melt. And you need to have a leather shoe or a leather boot would be better to walk through it. So throw your beloved walking shoes, jogging shoes into your to-go bag. They don't weigh anything, and you will not have your foot damaged or your leg. And so Francis went, "Oh, you never told me that." I'm sure I did, but.
And we were the ones who sent you back down to prepare your house, weren't we?
Yes.
We wouldn't do that if time were really important for getting out of our road.
I have my list from Julia just standing there. I have to go get the evacuation signs for the neighborhood.
Yes.
That kind of thing. So.
Yeah. So does anybody else have any experiences to share? I have a few more slides to go over with like the evacuation tags. Oh, yes, we do. We have Colin and Maureen.
Hi, I have a comment based on the the PG&E power safety setup outages. A lot of people, including ourselves, have gone out and bought little generators
Which is
and
this.
they're keeping those ready. Well, in that generator.
Oh, that's a clock.
Gasoline. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Someone was talking. I just muted them. Go ahead.
In that, we have under the house, not only propane tanks for our barbecue, but we also have 5 gallons of gasoline stored for that generator if there was just an outage, so we could get through, 3 days of PG&E outage without any gas, keep our, refrigerator going. So please be aware that if you have any stored fuels, which inside the generator or in a separate can, those also should be taken out and 30 foot away from your structure.
Great point.
So not just propane tanks. There's a lot of other things that have fuel in them. Your car that's sitting in your, maybe the car you're gonna leave behind is in your driveway. It has 16 gallons of gas in it. So, any accelerant like that, you would want to, park that car away from the house or something like that. So all of this could take extra time before you evacuate.
I hadn't even thought about that second car, because you're right. We're saying to people, keep your tanks full of gas so that you can make a getaway. But if you have to go quickly and only take one car, you're basically leaving a little bomb behind.
Yep.
Very interesting. That's great. Great help. And then I want to say something about a lot of times you'll see.
We have a comment from.
Yes.
You have to unmute yourself. I'll make a note. Ask to unmute. There we go.
On Union Street.
Wait, start again.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, I was looking for evacuation signs a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
and our fire station was being renovated, so that was all,
Yeah.
closed up. So I went down to Union Street, and they didn't know what I was talking about.
Oh my gosh.
And he
Well-
looked around, and he went inside, and he looked around, and things is don't have any. So I went up
We're-
to City Hall,
Uh-huh.
where the police station used to be, and there wasn't a soul in City Hall up there.
Oh,
And there was
no.
no directory for what office to go to. It was empty. I don't know what's going on there. And then when I said, I give up, I'm gonna go home and figure this out. So I went down Fifth Street. And then I noticed the new police station is on that corner,
Mhm.
as you head east. But I was giving up already. So who has these nice evacuation signs?
Well, I'm really
Sure.
glad you asked that question, because that's one of the slides I have coming up. And we're supposed to have this sign from the Marin Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, the Marin County Fire Department, because we're county. But they say if you've got San Rafael Fire Department ones, or you have police department ones, that's fine too. The thing is that I called the sheriff's office a month and a bit ago, and I said, I need 20 at least of these Marin County evacuated sheriff's tags. And they said, we've only got a couple in our drawer. You can have 1 or 2. So I said, would you please order them? And so I'm still waiting. But I think I was talking to our neighbor, Brucine, who was just speaking a moment ago about the leather boots. And she's going to try and get some. We're all going to try and get extras and then distribute them around to whoever wants them, because they seem to be very few and far between. And I grabbed some San Rafael Fire Department ones when I was at Bonnie's Point San Pedro Road Coalition fire meeting down at the church last week or the week before. And I had that. So I posted mine because I had just gotten it. And those are so important, because that tells everybody when you've left the house, there's nobody in your house, and you've taken your pets out, and you can lock your doors because they don't have to go in and try to find you or pets. And they can go on to the next person or next household that needs their help. So they are really important. Now we can make them ourselves if we want to print them out. And I'm not at that point yet. I want to get them because they are made with material that's a little bit, more coated. And I think that's important. So that's going to be one of my big to-dos, is to gather as many of these up and then make them available to anyone who wants them.
Did you have trouble with the radio too?
Oh, and
Yeah.
the radio, I got the NOAA radio. They had those.
Oh, yeah.
and He offered me two. How many? He offers me two of them. I said, I only need
Nice.
one, but I took the two just in case. And I came home and tested it out, but our situation on Manzanita here is that the reception was so bad, it didn't receive much of anything. So I had to spend $38 to get from Midland Radio Corporation their antenna that sticks on the window, which came yesterday, and I'll have to figure out where to put it so the reception is good enough.
Well, that's really interesting. We'll have to make a note based on your experience. We'll test it out on all of our different roads and see if we can get reception.
That'd be good.
Great, great feedback. Okay, I think I saw a couple other hands. Brucey?
Well, going back to the old days when I taught, if you can't get the evacuated signs, I'll take a picture of yours, and I have a lamination machine, of course.
Great.
I can make them that'll be exactly the same with the same wording, and people can have them. So if you can't find them, I'll be your source.
Thank you. I'll definitely, I still want to get one that's Marin County, because mine says San Rafael Police evacuated.
I can put whatever you require on it. So
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else? Thought I saw somebody else's hand earlier.
Somebody else's hand. Oh.
Okay, so I just want to look at the drill. Did everybody see? They probably did not see the next slide, Alan, which is our first alert Marin. That one. That is how it came up today on the public site for Alert Marin. And, I was really so surprised that they were going to do this drill for us, because it goes right up on the transom with the real fires that are happening and the real emergencies. But they're testing their system too. And I had given them a map of Bayside Acres, and I had it showing the roads. And from that map, they were able to zero in on our particular subdivision and then just put the alert out to our subdivision. So that's how it all happened. It went out then over your phones or your emails or your text messages, and it went out on the web. And I worked with Woody Cohen Baker, who is Marin County's in the Sheriff's Department, the guy responsible for Alert Marin. And in speaking with him over the last few days, I realized how important, if you have nothing else, Alert Marin is the one you want to have. A lot of people seem to have Nixle, which is fine, but Nixle is only telling you what's happening that affects your zip code. Alert Marin tells you what affects your house, your number. So it's the one that will tell you if you hear evacuate now and it's Alert Marin, then you know that we have to get out. Specifically, we have to get out. You may have got a Nixle a month or so ago when we had the fire in Dominican. That was to the zip code, and it was not telling us to evacuate here in Bayside Acres. A lot of people didn't realize that, and they were calling 911 or so on and so forth. But you always know that you have to evacuate if you get an Alert Marin, because it is specific to your house number. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And then I think I have, no, let's see. What the, let's go down to some pictures on page 12. of what was happening with our evacuation drills. Do you have that up yet? Let's see, we have, if you go down a little bit to number 12, Alan, we'll show those pictures of some of you who sent your photos in. We have a picture of Alan's car packed. We have a picture of the Dohertys up at the top of their driveway with their go bags. And we have Chris trying to get one of our barbecue propane tanks to run over to the patio, because that is clearly not 30 feet away from the structure.
Oh, Julie, I forgot the broom. I forgot the broom.
Oh, we forgot the broom. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was on our list, by the way.
In progress.
So behind, if you see that chest to the left of the barbecue, we have stored a broom there for sweeping under our carport. Well, I learned recently from the emergency evacuation manager of San Rafael that brooms should not be left by the houses because, of course, they're flammable. So that is something that we forgot. And we had it on our list, but we were running around and we forgot it. So this drill was really helpful to Chris and me particularly, because we thought we had it all down on our list, but you really have to go through these drills to know, get it in your head. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And then I want to take to the next slide, Alan, and I just want to share with you a slide that I had from one of the Point San Pedro Road Coalition's demonstrations on evacuation. And it was the San Rafael Fire Department's Mary Scramstad's 1 hour to get ready presentation. And you can see that there's a lot of people who have run out of their homes with very odd items when they've been told to evacuate. So it was kind of a cute slide. It really drives it home to you, like how you really need to have things on a list, because when it really happens and you have an emergency and you're told to evacuate, you're not going to think clearly. And it all makes for very fun tweets later. But it is not fun when you find out that you came out with your dirty laundry, but you left your jewelry or something like that. So I don't know if you can all see that slide very clearly, but it's a lot of crazy things that people did. Someone container of zip ties. Someone took their daughter's piggy bank and it only had $2.35 in it. I mean, these are the things that happen.
Always wine and beer.
So I think we'll just quickly go to the next slide, things to consider next time. Because, obviously we've done a few, always add to what you plan to do on evacuation. And one we haven't talked about is, having a car safety kit, for example. You could keep a car safety kit with additional supplies. And some of the things you have in your go bag, you could just keep in that car safety kit that sits in your car and never leaves it. I would add, like somebody in the fire department told me about, well, a fire extinguisher wouldn't be a bad thing, because if you're going through and there's fires burning around your car, you might want a fire extinguisher. And of course, you might want jumper cables in case you broke down. So that's something you can also add down the road, but your go kit right now is the most important. And then if you've got a lot of equipment, perhaps you've got a lot of medical equipment or some heavy items you want to take with you, if you've got the time, then think about getting like a small cart or a roller suitcase to keep near your door. And then the other thing to do is to think about, well, where are you going to go? So once you get in that car, you got to get out to the main road, but then where are you going? So you want to plan. I mean, the Alert Marin will be telling you about where they want people to go. And if they just want you to get down off the hill or out of your neighborhood, they may say, go to Chicken Point or go to Loch Lomond Marina or go to the San Rafael Rock Quarry. all of that depends on the way that the fire is heading and the winds and so on. And then they may want you just to get out onto 101, in which case, have you thought about, what relatives or friends you might want to call on to say, I need to come there. So those are things for the planning further out a little bit, but, obviously saving yourselves and your family and your pets, and if you can, your valuables is important, but then there's some more planning that might need to be done, especially if it's something like an earthquake or a flood, which means that you're definitely not going to be coming back into the neighborhood anytime soon. So that's those points I wanted to make there. And then I think just one more slide, what sources of information to rely on. So we've gone over how important Alert Marin is, but I would urge you to put Alert Marin and Nixle alerts onto your phone, your voicemails for your home phones or whatever. And then, what's helpful sometimes is if you're on Twitter, you'll see that there's a number of experts out there like the Marin County Fire and the Marin Sheriff and Cal OES that have Twitter accounts. And if you're into Twitter, you can track news there. And then these are the radio stations that are going to be important. If you've got a NOAA radio or a crank radio, you will be able to listen to what's going on. And I just want to say very unreliable would be Nextdoor for evacuation routes and wildfire progress, because that's not getting updated regularly. And sometimes it's just rumor. So you want to always be listening to Alert Marin and Nixle for where to go, and then check the Marin Public Emergency Portal, because that has all of the alerts pertaining to us on the web, which you can get at emergency.marincounty.org. So the essential alerts and the portal up there, you should have dialed in so that you're ready. And then don't worry about Nextdoor, because that's dangerous. So these slides will be available to you. I want to just quickly look at the next slide. There's FEMA has a very helpful printout, which you can go to their website, and I'm going to put this on our website, and you can click it and you can go directly to the ready.gov site where you can print these out, and it gives you all the, forms for filling in for our local resources and emergency. And you can keep that very handy for an emergency when you're trying to figure out, who do I call? Where do I go? You could put anything on this, like the radio stations you need to dial into. And this can be downloaded off the web. They do have some handy little cards, but sometimes those are given out at fairs and things like that, but you can also print it off of the website. So,
I got a handful of those cards.
Yeah, I do too.
Good. Okay, and then our evacuation routes. So I did want to make a point to tell you all while you're here that if you're up at the top of Bayview Drive and it's blocked, there's too much traffic, then you can go through the residence home at 225 Bayview Drive, and that takes you out to Tweed Terrace in Loch Lomond. And if the gate is locked, then you use the code 1999. There unfortunately is no vehicle access that would go through Bayside Marin's gates, which are further down Bayview Drive at 189, 191. There's foot traffic that can get through, but the fire departments do not recommend leaving our cars to flee on foot. And so it's much safer to shelter in your cars on a paved road, and preferably out from under trees. So we aren't recommending that you flee by foot, but we are told that Bayside Marin will have their gates open for foot traffic if that, were the last resort. So the other thing is, we don't want to go through into the open space through our Bayview Fire Road. That is, very unsafe. We need to be on tarmac. We need to be heading to main arteries. And we also need to leave those fire roads open for firefighters so that they can get up and fight that fire up in the open space or up in China Camp. So, and then lastly, we have some resources, and these are on the website, and that's the last slide. So I've just walked you through all my slides, and maybe I've caused you to think of more questions. Please let me know if you have any questions or, you know, need guidance. We've got so much material now for Bayside Acres. .org. We've got a whole section, a drop-down menu for our fire wise notes and you know, news, everything. So it's packed with information. It does take time to look through it all, and feel free to reach out to me and I can send you information specifically to what you want to know at the moment too. But do familiarize yourself with BaysideAcres.org. So,
Julia,
yes,
just real quick. I also want to suggest that folks who haven't checked out the Point San Pedro Road Coalition website, there's a lot of disaster prep information there as well. And our recording of the 1 hour to get ready is on there from our YouTube channel. The other thing that I think is important just to mention for folks, since you've got neighbors all gathered here now, in the event of an evacuation, not only is it important to put up the evacuation signs, but to the extent that your neighbors are going to care about what's happening to their neighbors, if you can let people know when you leave so people aren't worried that you haven't been able to get out. You know, like for everybody to communicate with one another. You don't want somebody coming into your house looking for you to help you get out if you've already gone or if you're away. So if you're leaving on the trip and there's a fire while you're gone and your neighbors don't know you're away and they go looking for you when you're gone, because there's no evacuation sign, that's a problem.
That's really helpful. I'm so glad you brought that up. And I think we also need to put in our plans, if we know of some neighbors who are going to need assistance, and build that into our plans so that we can help them. I know I have a neighbor right next door to me who has no car. So we are going to need to write that in so that we can get over there and get him into our car with our go bags and our dog. That's got to be the first thing we do.
Something about with Eric, we should always have a key for both cars for him, because he could be here alone without a car.
Anybody have any questions or comments? I know we've gone way over 30 minutes, but you've all had such good comments and experiences.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Alan.
Just want to point out to everyone, while we have everybody gathered again, that Bayside Acres is finally having its annual barbecue at the Yacht Club on August 7th. You've all gotten emails and whatever on it. So if you haven't signed up, because we do need you to sign up so we know who's coming, you can go on the website and click on the link to register or sign up for the party, and we hope to see everybody there. Julia, we might want to mention that we will have someone there with regard to Firewise as well.
You're absolutely right. We will. We'll have a speaker from the San Rafael Fire Department. We will have a table where we'll be sitting and can take questions. And he will do a demonstration, probably as just a little bit at the end of when we're eating. And I think it'll be really, really insightful, because we try to always cover new material. And I saw his presentation recently at the Point San Pedro Road Coalition's fire talk a week or two ago. And he had some slides showing how homes in some of these terrible fires that we've seen in California over the last few years, how some of those homes survived, and then they talked about how that happened. So there's a lot of information we can glean from preparation. I think we've covered a lot of evacuation information here, but how do we prevent the situation from getting so dire in our neighborhood? And that's kind of what he'll be talking about, because he's part of the team that are going around telling people how to fireproof their homes. So I think that's really critical too.
Come to our home.
And I wanted just to say, we're Fire Safe Marin is a partner of ours with the FireWise teams, and they give us a lot of guidance about what we should be doing in our FireWise neighborhoods. And they are the ones that said they want us to do this evacuation drill, and they want us to do it annually. And so I would love to hear what you guys think, maybe with a show of hands. If we do this next year, would you like us to maybe get the fire department involved and actually do a run down our roads and out, and have them kind of work with us? Because that would be, you know, a part of the evacuation we haven't tried yet, is actually getting out on the roads and seeing where we would go. Would that be of interest to anyone? I mean, we'll do a drill, but whether we do it with the fire department or not is the question.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
yes.
Great. Okay, good. Any other comments for things we can think about as a FireWise team that we can prepare more information for everybody?
Oh, I forgot what my question was. Go. Yes, I was wondering, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
The fire team coming by and looking at our properties, you know, giving us advice, is this going to happen automatically, or do we have to ask them to come and do that?
It's going to happen automatically, and we may get them coming through our areas this year, but they haven't told me when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen.
Okay,
yes,
but the other problem is if you're not home, they just kind of look at the outside. And that happened to us last year. And so we had to ask them to come back when we
Right.
get home, because where the real trouble is, if there's going to be trouble, is actually in our backyard.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be coming through automatically right now during fire season. They're tied up with obviously other issues. So it'll have to be not during fire season when they will do inspection.
And we're county, and so, you know, there are 6 or so houses here that come under San Rafael in our subdivision. So they will do theirs separately, but the rest of us will have to wait till Marin County puts their people out, you know, into our neighborhoods and I'll ask them. Actually, it's a really good question. I'll ask them if I had heard they were planning to do it this year, and I will ask them about that, and then I can get back to you about that.
They be making an appointment ahead of time?
I don't think you can do that, but I'll ask them for sure. Yeah.
That would be helpful.
The good thing is that you
day?
can call them. Yeah, but the good thing is that if you miss them, they will come back, especially in the weeks right after, because they're focused on that.
Okay.
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, good.
And then Julia, it's Brucine again.
Yeah.
I had printed out the wildfire evacuation checklist from Fire Safe Marin. It is loaded with information that Francis and I never dreamed of, like moving furniture into the center of the room so that you're not putting combustibles by the windows that'll probably blow out if a fire is near. And I mean, and how to dress and what to do with your animals and how to help your neighborhood. It's a really extensive and well-written list, very thoughtful. So, and it's just a checklist. So,
right. And that list is really interesting, because what I have learned is that San Rafael Fire Department and Marin County Fire Department have different protocols.
yes.
And so you may see on that list that it says, turn off your gas.
Yes.
Well, that's not what San Rafael Fire Department wants you to do. They told us a couple times through Quinn Gardner, actually don't do that unless you smell gas, because you may not be able to get it back on again for a week or more. So there's these little, you know, differences, but bear with them. They have their reasons in the areas that they watch for their particular recommendations. So we're trying to take elements of that, put it into ours. I think we'll build out our list too and link to that one for sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Could you
Great.
repeat
Yeah.
that source you got for that list?
It was on Fire Safe Marin.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's just a wildfire evacuation checklist, and it gives you alert Marin, Nixle, social media, radio, and then it also gives you a form that I have packed for years in our to-go kits with just information that you think you're going to have on your phone or something has changed, and emails and, getting hold and having it. It was a nice list.
Sounds
We've
good.
got that same list on our site too. And, it's just a matter of trying to get from all the different sources, all the best information. But if you looked at the first newsletter we put out, it had a direct link to that as well. So
I got it.
yeah, this is just good stuff. I mean, there's so much out there and there's so much to think about. What we don't want to do is overwhelm everybody so that they say, I don't know where to start. I mean, you just make a start and you just keep building it out as you go,
And keep checking every year that you're not expired on everything like we.
Thank you. Yes. So check your waters. They expire. Who knew, right? Your batteries, of course. What else, Brucine? You're very practiced at this.
Well, we've been here for a very long time. We fires here and floods here and everything. So, after 45 years here, yeah.
Right.
We watch our neighborhood very closely, and we're lucky we live across the street from you.
I don't know about that, but anyway, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for, caring and helping us. And we'll see you next year.
At the party down below.
We'll see you on
Yeah.
August 7th at the party.
August 7th.
Exactly.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.